do us both a favor. Before you dig into this problem, if you need some help, I want you to read over these 5 ideas here and really get comfortable with those ideas: angle bisectors, parallel lines, and so on. Maybe pause the video if you need to. Now I'm going to jump right into this. Angle bisectors. We're told that BD, in other words, this line right here, bisects this angle, which means divides it into 2 equal halves. Now I don't know what those are equal to, but I'm going to call them x and x. Likewise, we've got another angle bisector right here, and that bisects this angle into 2 equal halves. I don't know what they are, but let's just call them y and y. Okay. Next, we're moving on. That's all we can do from the angle bisector. We're moving on to this parallel lines idea right here. So if I've got 2 parallel lines, then what I know is that a transversal cutting across them forms equal opposite angles. Okay? In other words, this angle right here must be equal to that angle right there. So I'm going to call that x. And where's another? Let's see, here we go. There's another one. That angle right there must be equal to this angle up here. So we're going to call that one y. That's what I get from these being parallel lines. So let me clean these up just a little bit to make some room. And I know a little bit more about parallel lines, which is that if you sum up all the angles in this sort of arc, if you can think about it, that's 180 degrees, which means we can make an equation that says, what's this equal to? Well, that's 2x. What's this equal to? Well, that's 2y. And if I add them up together, I get 180 degrees. If I divide both sides of this by 2, I get x plus y equals 90. Now that's really important because that means x and y are complementary. In other words, they add up to 90 degrees. Moving on, I know that the sum of the angles of a triangle must add to 180. So knowing that x and y add up to 90 and that all the angles must add up to 180 means that this right here is a right angle. It must be 90 degrees, which means that all of these angles are 90 degrees. Okay, those are all 90 degrees in the center. Great. Now we're making some real progress here. I want to point out a couple more things. We know that isosceles triangles have 2 equal sides and 2 equal angles. So if you can find 2 equal angles in a triangle, that means it's isosceles. Okay, so I'll give you an example. This angle, let me get my x back there. Sorry about that. This angle right here is equal to this angle right here, which means that this side must be equal to this side. It's an isosceles triangle. Okay, now if that's an isosceles triangle, then we know it's got some equal sides here. Look, this must be equal to itself. That means if you look at triangle CDE and triangle BCE, okay, this triangle right here and this triangle right here, those must be congruent because they share 2 equal sides, 2 equal angles. We've actually overdone it in proving this congruency here. But what that means is that these sides right here are also equal to each other because of congruency. Next, I can do the same sort of argument with this side over here. I can say AE equals CE by the same exact argument. And now if you extend congruency a little more, you can see there's actually quite a lot of congruent triangles in this situation. CD must be equal to AB. Okay. And we can finally get over into this last gap right in here. I need to talk about this triangle. It is also congruent to one of the other ones. If you look at what sides are equal, this side is equal to this side is equal to this side, and this angle right here is equal to this angle right here. That means the top triangle and the bottom triangle are also congruent, which, if we're going to put some angles in here, means we've got a y there and an x here. Okay, so this picture ought to tell you everything you need to know to analyze this a little bit, as long as you know what these vocab words mean. A rhombus has 4 equal sides. It's like a square that got tilted over. Supplementary means adds up to 180. Scaling means 3 unequal sides, okay? Your version may have some different pieces to it, but this picture is the most important thing right here.